Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome you all to the comprehensive current affairs analysis discussion. Now, in this particular video, we take the entire past 1 week's current affairs, and today we'll be covering current affairs of 10th to 16th of June. In these particular sessions, we divide the session in prelims and mains oriented parts. So let's get started. And also, I would like to tell you that you can find the notes of this particular session on our Telegram channel. You'll find the link of Telegram channel in description box in YouTube. Also in the comments, you'll find the Telegram channel link. Let's get started with this particular session. Now, first of all, guys, I would request you that please do like the video. Fine. That's very important for the engagement of the channel. Now, uh, so first, what we are going to cover? First, we are going to cover the articles which are relevant for our prelims examination. So prelims, the articles having prelim relevancy, we are going to take them. So first article that we are going to discuss is understanding the Cascadia subduction zone. So recently, Cascadia subduction zone was in news. Why? Because a lot of seismic activity was observed around Cascadia subduction zone. So let's understand that what is the location of this particular zone and all the related aspects. In places in news also, this can be an important topic. So first of all, guys, here if you can see the map. So here we have US and here in a dark brown color we have Canada. So basically Cascadia subduction zone. So Cascadia subduction zone, it is this particular subduction zone, it lies on the western coast of North America. Where it lies? It lies on the western coast of North America, and it extends from northern California to southern British Columbia in Canada. So basically it runs from the California till Canada. So this particular region encompassing US and encompassing Canada. Okay, so this particular area, it is called as the Cascadia subduction zone. Now this particular zone has a lot of propensity to this particular area. It is considered as the one of the most significant earthquake activity active zone. Now this particular area, it is a convergent plate boundary. Now what is a convergent plate boundary? Convergent plate boundary is where two plates are converging with each other, and one plate often it subducts under the other plate. So here we find that John D. Fuca plate, it is sliding, it is converging with the North American plate. And at this subduction zone, what happens at this subduction zone, what is happening? John D. Fuca plate, it is getting subducted. John D. Fuca plate, it is getting subducted under the North American plate. And because of this, a lot of seismic activity, lot of volcanic activity happens around this particular area. And recently, due to enhanced seismic activity, that was in the news. Okay. Now, one more thing is that when we talk about this particular Cascadia subduction zone, now Cascadia subduction zone means that one of the plate is getting subducted under the other plate. Which plate is getting subducted? John D. Fuca plate is getting subducted. Under which plate? Under the North American plate. So this zone, this area is called as the Cascadia subduction zone. Now this particular area, it is capable of generating the mega quakes. Now in the prelims examination, this particular question can also be there, that what do you mean by mega quakes? So mega quakes are those earthquakes which are huge, and generally the earthquakes above the magnitude of 9.0, earthquakes of the magnitude 9.0 on Richter scale, they are called as mega quakes. So this particular subduction zone can generate mega quakes. Just a minute. Okay, so it can generate mega quakes. Moreover, as a seismic activity will happen here, and we find this particular area that this is ocean, so it can also lead to high tsunamis. Tsunamis which can reach to the height of 100 feet or more. Fine, height of 100 feet or more. Okay, now moving on. So Cascadia subduction zone. So only 4 things you need to understand. Number one, subduction zone means two plates are getting subducted. This is a convergent plate boundary. Two plates are getting subducted. John D. Fuca plate and the North American plate. They are two are the ones which are interacting here. High tsunami, high seismic activities. Okay, which plate gets subducted? John D. Fuca gets subducted under the other. That is the North American plate. Okay, mega quakes. Mega quakes are the earthquakes which can have intensity of more than 9 on Richter scale. Then next AIM ICDK Water Challenge 4.0. AIM ICDK Water Challenge 4.0. So recently, Atal Innovation Mission. Under Niti Aayog, they have come out with the two initiatives. The first is AIM. AIM stands for Atal Innovation Mission. ICDK. What this ICDK stands for? It stands for Innovation Center Denmark. So it is a collaboration between two countries, that is India and Denmark. And in the India, Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog has collaborated with Denmark for this AIM ICDK Water Challenge 4.0. Now, what this Water Challenge 4.0 it talks about? So this Water Challenge 4.0, basically, it is a platform to enhance. It is a platform where the collaborators will come together, where the collaborators from both the countries, India and Denmark, will come together and will share knowledge with respect to water sustenance, with respect to water management, with respect to the treatment of grey water. Now, what is grey water? Grey water is one which has been used in some domestic activity. It has been discarded and now it will be treated again. Okay. So basically, when we talk about this Water Challenge 4.0, so here water scarcity will be tackled through innovative solutions, through a culture of sustainability. Water challenges will be solved. Now what will happen? So basically teams will come together, okay, and along with the Denmark, other countries such as Ghana, Kenya, South Korea, Tanzania, South Africa, Colombia, Mexico. So teams from these countries along with the India, they will come together and they will share knowledge with respect to water management, with respect to the water conservation, with respect to the sustainability of water. So this is the Water Challenge 4.0. Again, initiative between Niti Aayog of India and Denmark. Along with that, one more challenge has been launched under Niti Aayog, that is Innovation for You Handbook. Now, this is also another. It has been launched by Niti Aayog, Innovation for You Handbook. Now, what is this handbook? So basically, this is a kind of a compilation which showcases entrepreneurs who are working in order to, who are bringing solutions for successful implementation of United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals in India, UN SDG goals in India. So it showcases entrepreneurs who are working towards SDGs implementation, solutions that they are bringing for the implementation of SDG goals. Okay, so this is about it. This is all about it. Then moving on, the next, solving. Okay, so already we have discussed it. Then next, Sarod was in news. So what this Sarod is? So basically, Sarod happens to be a musical instrument, and recently a legend. Fine, Pandit Rajiv Tarant passed away. Fine, who was a maestro in playing the Sarod. So what is the Sarod? Again, an important topic with respect to art and culture prelims examination. So I'll show you Sarod first so that you can understand it in a more better way. Yes. So here you can see Sarod. So what is Sarod? Sarod is a stringed instrument. It is a kind of a stringed instrument. Okay. So you can see here on the picture. So Sarod is a stringed instrument, and this particular instrument is used in the classical music of India. Now, when we talk about Sarod briefly, So basically, Sarod, its origin is Afghan. Its origin is Afghan. So basically, it is it traces its origin from Afghan rabab. So rabab was a stringed instrument originally from Afghanistan. It came to India in around 16th century, and over the last 500 years, it has been over last 400-500 years, it has evolved, it has changed, and it has reached its the present its present shape. So when we talk about it, so Sarod, it is typically 100 centimeter long stringed instrument, and it is made up of a single piece of wood. Often it is made up of teak or sagwan or tan wood. Okay. Now, when we talk about this particular Sarod instrument, so it has a resonator which amplifies the sounds, and that resonator is made up of goat skin. Goat skin. Fine. Earlier time, the strings that we see in Sarod, for example, yes. So here these are the strings that are going on. So strings that are going on. Now this is made up of goat skin, this particular part, and these strings that are going on here. So earlier these strings, they were made up of either from silk, okay, but now they are made up of steel and bronze. Steel and bronze. So this is the Sarod. Fine. So I hope that you have understood it. Beyond it, you need not to go. Beyond it, you need not to go. Then moving on next, Crete Island was in news. So this will be important for places in news, geography, mapping. If you have seen yesterday's paper, you might have already seen that there were quite a bit entries from the places in news. So Crete Island. Now recently Crete Island was in news. Why? Because archaeologists, they have discovered a circular monument which dates back 4,000 years. So 4,000-year-old monument has been discovered by archaeologists at the Crete Island. So what is this particular island, where this particular island is located, and all these particular things will take here. So when we talk about the Crete Island, so Crete Island belongs to Greece. This particular island is located in Mediterranean Sea, and in fact it happens to be one of a large island in Mediterranean Sea, fifth largest island of Mediterranean Sea. So Crete, it is the largest island, it is largest of the Greek island, and it is the fifth largest island in Mediterranean Sea. It is fifth largest island in the Mediterranean Sea. So here you can see the Crete is located. Where it is located? It is located in Mediterranean Sea. Now further, when we talk about the location, so it is in the south of Aegean Sea. South of Aegean Sea, it lies in the southern part of the Aegean Sea, okay, and also bordered by the Sea of Crete in the north. So Sea of Crete is in the north. Libyan Sea is towards the south. So Sea of Crete is in north. Libyan Sea is in the south. Okay, fine. Marotian Sea to the west, and the Carpathian Sea to the east. Okay, so this is the location. However, no need to go too much in the hairline details, but broadly, if you'll understand the respective location, that where it is located, Mediterranean Sea, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, which country it belongs to Greece. So that is it will solve the purpose. Okay, now moving on. Okay, the next is Enterobacter bugandensis. Enterobacter bugandensis. Now, before going in this particular article, so this will be important for the health section or science and technology in your prelims examination. So today, scientists are basically today one of the biggest health crises that the scientific community is facing, or the humanity is facing, is uh, antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance. So today we find this particular thing, pathogens such as bacteria, fungi, they are developing a resistance against the antimicrobes, antimicrobial drugs. Today bacteria, they are developing the resistance under the antibiotics. Okay, and if this particular thing will continue, what will happen? So after a time, the common infections which are not killing humanity today because there are the antibiotics for them, these common infections, they will become particularly more deadly. Okay, so point is that we want to deal with this multi-drug resistant pathogens. We need to deal with the antibiotic resistance that is developing in bacteria, fungi, etc. Recently, the researchers from IIT Madras and NASA, they have collaborated to study one of a pathogen. They have collaborated to study one of a pathogen, that is Enterobacter bugandensis. They will study this particular pathogen, fine, in International Space Station. So basically understand this particular thing. So how this particular pathogen will behave under the conditions where the gravity is different. Okay, now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the International Space Station, so International Space Station is the largest man-made object that is floating in the space at the height of around 400 kilometer. And we use this International Space Station for multiple things. For astrophysics it is being used, also it is being used that what is the impact, microgravity conditions, how it impacts the human bodies. So basically what has happened, IIT Madras researchers and NASA researchers, they are studying the behavior, of multi-drug resistant pathogens, and this Enterobacter bugandensis is one of the multi-drug resistant pathogen. So its behavior is being researched on International Space Station. Its behavior is being researched on International Space Station. Now, when we talk about this Enterobacter bugandensis, I will use now the name Enterobacter. So this particular Enterobacter, it was identified in 2013, and it was isolated from the bloodstream of individuals in Uganda. Now, this basically, when we talk about the Enterobacter, it is a type of a bacteria, and it can thrive in a lot of different kind of environments. It can thrive in soil, it can thrive in water, it can thrive in intestinal tracts of humans and animals. Even it can tolerate a wide range of temperatures also. Fine. And when we talk about this particular bacteria, it can spread infections. It is linked to the infections of bloodstreams, respiratory infections, infections of urinary tract, wound infections, and this particular pathogen, I told you, it is a multi-drug resistant pathogen. And what it does, okay, it produces bactolactamase, it uses efflux pumps, and it undergo mutations. So by through these particular ways, it tries to resist the drugs. It tries to evolve beyond the capacity of drug to treat. Now, one more thing is that, guys, these particular mechanisms are not only used by Enterobacter, but these particular mechanisms in general are used by many pathogens. They are used in general by many pathogens, fine, to develop a resistance against the drug. So in prelims examination, we see that these particular type of questions came. Okay, these kind of questions came where these kind of questions are coming, where they are asking that, okay, they might give certain methodology and might ask that, okay, which one of them are being used. Okay, so moving on to the next one. JIMEX Exercise 24. JIMEX Exercise 24. So recently, what happened? JIMEX 24 was commenced. Now, where it was commenced? It was commenced in Yokosuka, Japan. Now, this basically yesterday prelims examination question was there on an exercise also. So, JIMEX exercise, it is between two countries, that is India and Japan. Now, guys, a few things is there that you see this particular thing, that when we talk about the naval exercise, when we talk about the defense exercise between the two countries, objectives are most of the time would be same. 80 to 90% of the times objectives would be same. What is the objectives? Objectives will be to enhance the war fighting capabilities, interoperability, operational coordination. Okay, so you see that exercise is going on between India and Japan, or India and US, India and Australia. These things will be always be same. What? Interoperability, logistical assistance, fine, knowledge sharing, to help enhancing fighting capabilities of each other, operational coordination, also platform to exchange best practices. India can teach Japan, Japan will teach India. Refine tactics, okay, bolster mutual understanding in maritime operations. All these particular things are there. Now, in this particular exercise, who is going to participate? So from the side of India, INS Shivalik, and from the side of Japan, guided missile destroyers JS Yugiri is going to participate. Now, when we talk about India and Japan, there are other exercises also that are there between India and Japan, and the major exercises between India and Japan that we have is number one, Malabar. Malabar. Now, Malabar is actually the exercise where the Quad countries come. So, Japan, US, Australia, fine, they come here. Then Shinyu Maitri is there. Okay. Then Dharm Guardian is there. Now, Dharm Guardian specifically is to enhance the basically on counter-terrorism operations. It is carried. Counter-terrorism operation, it is carried. Now, moving on. The next we have is atomic clocks. Atomic clocks. Okay. So, recently what has happened? So, researchers, they have developed portable optical atomic clock. Now you see this particular thing that when we talk about the regular quartz based clocks or the regular clocks that we have, these particular clocks over a period of time, they lose time and they tend to become inaccurate. Today, when we talk about guys, for example, in GPS, in communication, there is a lot of importance of accurate timekeeping. Fine, in naval, basically in defense operations, in launching satellites, etc., in GPS communication, lot of importance is of there is a lot of importance of accurate timekeeping. But regular clocks, they lose time. So what we do, we use atomic clocks. Atomic clocks, they have unparalleled precision in timekeeping. Now, how atomic clocks are used to track the time? So basically, guys, when we talk about atomic clocks, so basically atomic clocks, it based on, now see this particular thing. So when we talk about atomic clocks, cesium atomic clocks are the one which are one of the most precise atomic clocks. So in atomic clocks, what happens? So movement, the oscillation of electrons. Now see this particular thing. So basically, there are atoms. Within the atoms, oscillation of electrons is measured. Now these electrons, they vibrate at a regular interval. Okay, and by noting down the difference of time between the one vibration and the other vibration, we can measure the time more accurately. So in atomic clocks, what we do, we measure the time on the basis of the vibration in electrons. So basically, they measure the time on the basis of the oscillation of atoms. Now within the atoms, these clocks rely on the vibration of electrons within the atom. And by observing this, we can we can keep a precise timing. Now these atomic clocks, they have a value deviation of only few billionth of a second per day. So therefore, in GPS systems, telecommunication, scientific research, these particular atomic clocks are used. And within the atomic clocks, one of the most precise atomic clock that we have, is the cesium based atomic clocks. Okay. Mention page number. Fine, Yogesh will try to do that. Okay. Fine. Now atomic clocks. So cesium atomic clocks are there. These are the most prevalent atomic clocks. Along with that, we also have the hydrogen maser atomic clocks. Now, what they do? Basically, they use times on the basis of the hydrogen atoms. And hydrogen maser atomic clocks, they are even more precise than the cesium. But the cesium atomic clocks are the ones which are most prevalent. The next places in news, Nagarhole Tiger Reserve was in news. So basically, Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, why it was in news? Because recently, what happened? One of an elephant, fine, who was the part of Mysuru Dashara celebration, died because of electrocution incident. In Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. Now, when we talk about Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, this particular tiger reserve It is located in Karnataka. It is located in Karnataka, and its name comes from the Nagarhole river that passes through it. So basically, Nagar means snake. So the shape of river is something like this, and hole means a stream in Kannada language. So Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, the name comes because of the Nagarhole river passes through it. Okay, and this Nagarhole river eventually it joins the Kabini river. It joins Kabini river. Now, when we talk about the when we talk about the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, so where it is located? Located in Karnataka, adjacent to the Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary is not in Karnataka, it is in Kerala. Fine. Okay. So you can just see the location here. Now, moving on. Next is general anti-avoidance rules were in news. General anti-avoidance rules were in news because recently a ruling was given by the Telangana High Court. Now, what is this ruling? Which case matter was there, etc., is not needed for our examination per se. But you need to understand that what are these general anti-avoidance rules? What is its spirit? Before understanding it, two concepts first you need to understand. Number one, there is a concept of tax evasion, and secondly, there is a concept of tax avoidance. First of all, tax evasion. Tax evasion is one where a person tries to see. Tax evasion is when you will not pay tax because you will conceal your real income. For example, what I do, let's say I am earning 5 lakh rupees. Let's not consider tax slabs right now. Suppose I am earning 5 lakh rupees, but I'm declaring to the government that I'm earning 2 lakh rupees. And on that 2 lakh rupees, I'm paying the tax. What happened? 3 lakhs of income I have not declared to the government. So I have stolen the tax. This is the tax evasion. Now, tax evasion is illegal. Tax evasion is always illegal. Second is a tax avoidance. Now, what is tax avoidance? Tax avoidance is deliberate usage of loopholes in the tax laws so that you need not to pay the tax liability. What you do? You use the clever strategies. You use the clever strategies so that you end up paying no tax or you pay less tax. That is the tax avoidance. Now, tax avoidance is actually not outrightly illegal. Why? Because you are not concealing your income. You are using the loopholes that are there. So, tax avoidance is not purely illegal, but at the end, tax avoidance leads to the revenue leakages. So, therefore, government is always now tax evasion outrightly illegal. Tax avoidance not illegal, but government is concerned with this. Why? Because it leads to the revenue leakages. Now, what has happened around the world? Countries are adopting these GAAR rules, that is the General Anti-Avoidance Rules. Now, India also has adopted this. In India also brought an amendment in the Income Tax Act 1961, and they came in effect since 2017. Now, what does this GAAR provides? So basically, these particular rules, it curbs it curbs the aggressive tax planning strategies. It curbs aggressive tax planning strategies. Now see this particular thing. Sometimes certain businesses they reorganize themselves. Certain businesses, now suppose there is one of a company and this particular company has one other sister concern, or this particular company has one subsidiary company. Now sometimes the transactions are made between the companies. Sometimes the transactions are made between the companies simply so that their tax liability goes down. Simply so that their tax liability goes down. Right? Okay. So sometimes what is happening? Certain companies they are carrying the transactions. Suppose there is one of a company and its sister concern or its subsidiary company are there. They are carrying the transaction simply in order so that they can avoid the tax payments. So general anti-avoidance rules they try to avoid such kind of a tax planning strategies. So they aim to curb those tax planning strategies which are specifically carried to reduce the tax liability. Now, when we talk about these GAAR rules, okay, they are quite flexible. They are quite flexible, because understand this particular thing, that tax planning strategies will not always follow one line. They will not always follow one strategy, one methodology. Many innovative strategies and methodologies are followed by companies to reduce the tax. So when we talk about the GAAR rules are very flexible. They incorporate within the existing tax laws, and they specifically target those transactions which were carried just to avoid the payment of taxes. Okay, so this is about the GAAR. Fine. Now, GAAR is different from the tax evasion. I already told you about the evasion. Next, uh, Global Gender Gap Report 2024 was recently released. Global Gender Gap Report 2024 was released. First of all, who releases this particular gender gap report? So, gender gap report is released by the World Economic Forum, WEF. It is released by World Economic Forum. Now, first of all, how this particular report is released? So, this particular report, it has 4 sub-indexes on which the progress is seen. Now, first is economic participation and opportunity that a country gives to the women. Second is educational attainment of women in that particular country. Third is health and survival. And fourth is political empowerment. On these particular 4 parameters, on these 4 sub-indexes, the countries are ranked. On the basis of these 4 sub-indices, countries are ranked. And in 2024 edition, what is rank of India? What is rank of India? So India's rank is 129. India's rank is 129. Now, which country has topped? Which country has topped? Iceland has maintained the top rank. Iceland is the most gender equal country, and this is for 14th consecutive year. Now, it has a gender parity score of 91.2%. Now, when we talk about India, guys, so we find that India's regression is because of the decline in educational attainment, if you remember. So here we have the parameter of educational attainment. Here decline has happened. Also, decline has happened on political empowerment. Decline has happened on political empowerment. And even, guys, if we talk about the recently constituted Lok Sabha, we find this particular thing that after this Lok Sabha, out of the 30 union ministers that are there, only 2 are women. Only 2 are the women. Okay. Also, previous Lok Sabha, 78 women MP were there, and this year only 73 women MP were there. Okay, so India's rank has declined. Now, when we talk about the Southern Asia, so Southern Asia, Bangladesh, it has the rank 99, and in Southern Asia, not the global ranking, Southern Asia, in Southern Asia region, it has first rank. Now, when we talk about the Southern Asia region, India's rank is 5th. India's rank is 5th. The global rank of India is 129. Okay, beyond this, no need to go and no need to read anything beyond this. Now, moving on to the next, that is the cold lava. Cold lava. Okay, so recently cold lava was in news. Now, we always, when we use the word lava or magma, we have this particular understanding that it happens to be hot. It happens to be hot. What is this cold lava? So basically, recently cold lava flows were observed in Mount Canlaon Natural Park. First of all, where this Mount Canlaon Natural Park? Again, an important aspect for the places and news. So Mount Canlaon Natural Park, it is located in Philippines. Where it is located? It is located in Philippines. And in Mount Canlaon Natural Park, what happened? Cold lava explosions, cold lava flows were observed. Now, this cold lava, it is also called as Lahar. It is also called as Lahar. So what happens when the lava, it comes in contact with rainwater? When lava comes in contact with rainwater, it actually solidifies. It turns in a kind of a semi-solid type of debris, and then it flows the downhill. So basically, Lahar, cold lava, it forms when the rainwater combines with volcanic material. When rainwater combines with volcanic material, ash, sand, pebbles, which are ejected during the eruption. Now, what happens? This particular mix solidifies and becomes a concrete-like substance. And this concrete-like substance, it flows with a lot of velocity. It has a lot of mass. And this cold lava, it can flow swiftly and can reach the speed of hundreds of kilometers per hour and can go to more than 60 kilometers from the volcano where it has erupted. So from a volcano up till 60 kilometers, it can travel, and basically what happens, it has a huge potential for destruction. So whatever comes in between, land, property, it destroys all of it. And what happens, it is more dangerous. Why? Because it has high density and high abrasive nature, so therefore it happens to be highly destructive. Moving on to the next. So next in the news was Olympus Mons. Olympus Mons. Guys, one thing is that actually I am not at all satisfied by your engagements that have been there on the video. But now your engagements are very important, not because I will feel happy, but you see this particular thing, your engagements, that is the likes on the video, the comments on the video that you do, it gives a, basically it is very much helpful for the YouTube algorithm. Now because of your weak engagements, because of your engagements, now you see the hard work that it takes to prepare these notes and everything. Now see this particular thing, that these particular sessions, if I have kept them paid, okay, I might have got more traction. So please help us in this particular regard, that now you see this particular thing, that your response will be the one deciding factor. And I can guarantee you this particular thing, that see, 1 year means 50 classes. 1 year means 50 classes. And I can ensure that these 50 classes, if you see diligently, they will cover your entire prelims and mains. Okay. So basically these classes, students are typically paying thousands and thousands of rupees in institutes. They are having these 2.5 hours of weekly current affairs classes. Okay. So my point is that please value them. They are free, but please do engage on the videos, so that uh, we can continue and we can come out with more valuable content. Now, okay, so Olympus Mons. So Olympus Mons was in news. Now, what is this Olympus Mons? So Olympus Mons, it is basically, this is the highest point on Mars. It is the highest point on Mars, and it is actually a shield volcano. It is a shield volcano. Recently, what has happened? Scientists recently, they have discovered snow. They have discovered actually frost. So what happened recently? Scientists, they have observed frost on this Olympus Mons, which is a shield volcano. Where this volcano is situated? This particular volcano is situated on the Mars. Now this particular volcano, it is 16 miles in height, that is around 24 kilometers, 3 times more than the Mount Everest that we have here. 3 times more than the Mount Everest, 3 times taller than the Mount Everest. Okay, now as frost has been found here, fine. Guys, just give me 1 minute. I think there is some issue with the sound. Just give me 1 second. Guys, I please tell me, sound is clear now, right? Okay, so Olympus Mons, we have discussed that this is the highest point on Mars. What it is a kind of a shield volcano, 3 times more than the height of Mount Everest on Earth. And here frost has been found, and because of the frost, we get the indication. Because of the frost, we get the indication of water availability, and you know that water is the basic need for the sustenance of life. And as we are exploring to make the Mars as habitable for human life, as we are exploring it to make as we are exploring to find the support life on the Mars, it's this discovery is important. Moving on to the next, moving on, here we have Nagastra, which is India's indigenous man portable suicide drone. Man portable suicide drone. Now you see this particular thing, guys, that India in the past has carried many operations such as surgical strikes that have been carried in Pakistani territories. Also, we have find this particular thing that in order to curb insurgencies, often the Indian Air Force pilots, they do play a role there. So in counter-terrorism operation, in surgical strike type of operations, rather than sending a manned flight, what can be done? These unmanned drones can be sent. These unmanned drones can be sent. So this Nagastra, what has happened? Indian Army, they have introduced Nagastra. So this is indigenous man-portable suicide drone. What it means that it can involve in a targeted killing of a terrorist. It can involve in targeted killing of the enemy targets. So it can attack the training camps, it can attack infiltrators. Okay, and by carrying such kind of an attacks, it can safeguard the soldier's life who otherwise have to involve in these kind of activities. And it has been developed by Economic Explosive Limited. Now when we talk about this particular Nagastra, it has a 75% of indigenous components, 75% of indigenous components. So therefore it will also reduce the dependency on imports. It also reduces the dependency on imports. The next, Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. So recently, Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary was in news. Why? Because Air Force, they deployed Mi-17 helicopter to combat a wildfire that erupted in the Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. So in places of new places in news category, will use this particular article. So Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary, where it is located? It is located in Uttarakhand. It is located in Uttarakhand, and it has a huge diversity in terms of flora and fauna that is found here. So you'll find here oak trees, rhododendron trees. You'll find here on higher altitude chir, pine forest. You'll find fine. Now, when we talk about the Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary, so it gets its name. It gets its name from Bineshwar Mahadev Temple. Bineshwar Mahadev Temple. This Bineshwar Mahadev Temple, it is a 16th century temple, and it is dedicated to Lord Shiva. It is dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now, relatively, if we talk about the location, if we talk about the relative location of the Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary, so here we have the Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, if you go towards the north, Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary is located. Then in between Kedarnath and Binsar, Laskot Musk Deer Wildlife Sanctuary is there. Then further, there is this Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. Valley of Flowers National Park is there. Fine. Gangotri National Park is there. Okay. So these are the important locations. Fine. Now here you will find the Rajaji National Park, Rajaji Tiger Reserve, Jim Corbett National Park. Fine. So please go through this particular map location. Please go through this particular map location, and as already I have informed you that these particular notes are available on Telegram channel. So I will insist that you please download these particular notes from the Telegram channel. Okay, moving on. Next, Planet 9. So this Planet 9 was in news. Now guys, what is this particular Planet 9? So see, Planet 9 is a you see, Planet 9, it is actually a hypothetical planet. Now when we talk about the solar system, so you know already that in solar system there are 8 planets. Earlier Pluto was counted as ninth planet, but Pluto has been removed. Why? Multiple things are there. First of all, the orbital path of Pluto is not very much clear. Pluto was not capable to remove any object if it comes and in its orbit, so Pluto was removed. Today, right now, we have 8th planet in our solar system. But beyond Neptune, there might be one more planet which has not been discovered till now. That particular undiscovered planet, it is being called as the planet 9. It is being called as planet 9. And now astronomers, they have added this planet 9 without any formal name. It is just being called as planet 9. It is a theoretical celestial bodies within the outer realms of our solar system. Within the outer realms from our solar system, since last 1 decade, 10 years, the researchers are trying to find this exact locations and or the exact make of this particular planet, but they have not been found. Now, as per the hypothesis that goes on, it is 5 to 10 times the size of the Earth. Fine. Now we understand that, okay, that it has the 5 to 10 times the mass of the Earth, so it will also have a big gravitational influence also. Okay, and it is expected to have an elongated orbit. Fine. Beyond that, no need to go for anything. Then next is Divya Drishti. Divya Drishti. Now, basically, guys, what is this Divya Drishti? So, Divya Drishti is simply an application. This is a face recognition application based on AI. Now, you see this particular thing, facial recognition. It is used in lot of domains. Facial recognition is used for secured entry. Facial recognition is used for the authentication. Facial recognition is also used in the it is used into the law enforcement also. So basically, what has happened now when we talk about the facial recognition, Divya Drishti, Divya Drishti, Divya Drishti, it is advanced AI tool. It is an advanced AI tool which can carry the personal identification, Now, this Divya Drishti, it has been engineered by Ingenious Research Solution Private Limited, which is a startup founded by a women entrepreneur. Now, this Divya Drishti, it has a lot of application in defense, law enforcement, in corporate sector, in public infrastructure. Okay, and when we talk about this particular Divya Drishti, this Divya Drishti tool was developed through the funding that was received from the Technology Development Fund. Okay, so developed by a startup, but it has been developed through a public funding that was given under the Technology Development Fund. So let's understand about the Technology Development Fund. So when we talk about Technology Development Fund is executed by DRDO and it is taken up under the Make in India initiative. Now, here what happens is that DRDO gives fundings, it gives grants to the organization that can come out with the technologies which can have application in defense or dual use technologies. For example, authentication, facial recognition technology can be used in defense, can be used in law enforcement, and can also be used in the other purposes also. So basically, Technology Development Fund, it wants to support startups, okay, enterprises which can create these kind of technologies, and it aims to promote the Atmanirbharta in defense technology. So if a question comes, Technology Development Fund, who executes it? It is executed by the DRDO. Okay, and when we talk about this Divya Drishti has been developed by a private AI, a private startup, and it has been developed under the technical guidance of the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. Fine. Now, this Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, it is a DRDO lab. Fine. So I hope this is clear to everyone. Now, moving on to the next. Okay, now guys, after this we more have articles which are relevant for the mains examination. So let's get started with that. Now, here guys, we are going to take largely the editorials from both Hindu as well as Indian Express newspapers. And not only we are going to see these particular articles and editorials, we'll also understand application and utility of these particular editorials. Let's get started with this particular part. Now first that we are going to take up here, that is fact over fiction. Fact over fiction. Now this editorial was published in the Indian Express newspaper, and this particular article will be important for GS paper number 2. It will be important for GS paper number 2, issues related to election, or election and AI, impact of artificial intelligence on election. We will be using this particular article. Now guys, when we talk about the recent election, this particular recent election was marked by a lot of application of AI based technologies, that is the artificial intelligence based technologies. Now understand this particular thing, that there is a global concern right now that is going on, and this global concern is like this, that AI, artificial intelligence, can fuel misinformation and disinformation during the elections. First of all, what is difference between misinformation and First of all, what is the difference between misinformation and disinformation? Now, when we talk about misinformation, misinformation is the spread of wrong information without the awareness that such information is wrong. For example, I received some information. I didn't knew that this information was right and wrong. I was under an impression that this is actually a right information and I'm spreading it. This is the dissemination of misinformation. Now, disinformation is different. What is disinformation? Disinformation is the spread of distorted information with the wrong intent. Now, let's say I had right information. I distort that particular information and then I spread. And I know that this is wrong information, but still I'm spreading it. This is a spread of disinformation. Now, with the AI, misinformation and disinformation's spread, its dissemination can increase manifold. How? You see this particular thing, that what can be done today with the help of AI, artificial intelligence. There are the basically fake videos, there are the deep fakes that can be prepared. In these deep fakes, leaders, the politicians, they can be shown that they are saying certain things which actually they have not done, and by that their credibility can be impacted. Also, when we talk about the AI, there is one concept, that is the liar's dividend. Now, what is this liar's dividend? Suppose there is some kind of a leader whose video has been leaked in public, and in that video he is doing certain things or saying certain things which are not good, which are not good. Now, this is something that has happened. This is something that has happened. Now, let's say that that video was actually true video. That video was true. In reality, that person has read that. But what will happen? This person will say in the public that I was not that person. That is actually a fake video. That is actually a fake video. That is actually a deep fake. This is called as liar's dividend. So even in the instances where the occurrence was right, it was legit, it will be rebuffed as fake. It will be rebuffed as a work of AI. This is the liar's dividend. So therefore, AI has a lot of potential to disseminate the misinformation and disinformation. And in these elections, a lot of AI generated mis and disinformation was found. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the AI, so AI generated media that was used in the recent elections was in the form of voice clones, okay, videos, audio messages by certain leaders. Calls were made by the political parties by the usage of AI. Now, how the calls will be made? So basically, suppose a leader gave a message in Hindi language. Now, with the help of AI, with the help of AI, that particular message will be converted in multiple languages. Okay, and the pitch, tempo, voice, texture of the leader would be maintained. Now, when we talk about the translations, what happened? Often in the translation, pitch, tempo, texture of the voice, it gets distorted, but AI, it will be kept intact. So, for generating voice clones, for generating videos, okay, for generating cartoons, for audio messages, AI was largely used. And political parties, what they have done, they have spent around $50 million on AI based technologies in the recent elections, and next election that will come in 2029, we can be sure that this number will go manifold. This number will go manifold. Now, AI generated content in your native language, regional language, it is used to ignite emotional appeal. Now, let's say prime ministerial candidate giving you a message in your own regional language, in your own local language, talking about your local issues. Now, this suddenly ignites an emotional relation, emotional bond, emotional connect. But actually, that leader never said that. All that was generated by the use of AI. So today, what can be done? Virtual avatars, AI avatars of the people can be made. Okay, and they can talk about the content in regional languages without fatigue. Also, what happened? So resurrected messages from certain diseased politicians were also used. Now there are the politicians who have died in the past, but they have a lot of hold in the public. They have a lot of emotional hold in the public. Fine. Leaders such as Karunanidhi, leaders such as Jayalalitha. Okay. So messages from them were resurrected by the usage of AI. By the usage of AI. Fine. Now, when we talk about the AI usage, we also find that AI was used differently in rural as well as urban areas. AI was used differently in rural as well as urban areas. Let's understand this thing. Now, when we talk about the rural areas, in rural areas, less sophisticated AI usage was seen. Largely in rural areas, old-fashioned cartoons were made by using AI. Okay, doctored content was made by using AI. Fine. Now, when we talk about, guys, this was a largely usage in the AI. And also when we talk about the AI in this particular election, though $50 million were spent, but actually it was not that much. And also when we talk about the fact checking, so fact checking revealed minimal AI generated misinformation. Only 4% of the fact checks, only 4% of the fact checks, they involved AI content. So AI content was not that much in quantity, and even the AI content, when we talk about the fact checking, AI content was not used for a lot of misinformation and disinformation till this election. But by the time next election will come, 2029 will come, there might be a possibility that it will increase manyfold because of the rapid technological developments and advancements that are happening. Now, in this particular line, guys, we have certain startups which are working on AI technology, such as Polymath Solution, Muonium AI. Now, you can use their example as a case study. They have pledged that they will only be going for the ethical usage of AI. Ethical usage of AI. They'll not make applications on AI which might spread misinformation or might harm the democracy in any way. But all startups might not be like this. Might not be like this. Okay. So what we need to do? Fine, we need to ensure that the regulatory environment that's there, it should not profuse the unethical AI. Okay, so what can be way forward here? What can be way forward here in this particular direction? Let's understand that way forward. Just a minute. Okay, now when we talk about the way forward, number one, when we talk about the AI can improve the, can help in individualized communication. Individualized communication. Now understand this particular thing, that one particular reader, one particular leader might not talk about the entire range of issues. And often what happens, citizens in democracy, they feel that they are not being included. But with the help of AI generated content, with the help of the AI avatars, what can be done? Issues plaguing the entire country can be discussed. What I can do? AI avatar of a leader can be made, and that particular leader is addressing the issues of your area. Citizens feel more connected. So AI can improve individualized communication, and through this individualized communication, democracy can be made more inclusive by the AI. Also, when we talk about the AI communication, one thing is there, that today when we talk about the AI communication, it is more one way, leader to citizen. But we need to ensure that this AI communication becomes a two-way, not leader to citizen, but there should be some mechanism where the, now see, when you see a video on YouTube, you can comment, you can give your feedback. In the same way, AI generated content that it is raising to the citizens, on that also there should be some mechanism to give feedback. There's a mechanism to give feedback. So this is something that can be there, that can be done. The next thing is that we also need to strengthen the ethical AI use framework. We also need to strengthen the ethical AI use framework. So as we have seen the case study of Polymath AI, which have taken the pledge to not to use AI for unethical things. In the same way, we need to promote ethical AI practices, and we need to nudge the startups that they also join the ethical coalitions. They also join these particular ethical pledges. Next, we need to increase the digital literacy in rural areas so that the people understand that what is AI generated content and what is the content which is not generated by AI. Now, why users need to know this particular distinction? So that misinformation and disinformation can be arrested. Fine. Also, this particular AI can be used for providing even the government services in local languages. Now, as AI is being used in the government campaigns, why AI should be restricted in government campaigns? These particular lessons can be used to improve the ease of governance, Then moving on. Now, there are some global best practices also that we have. So there are the global think tanks such as the Busola TAC, Popvox Foundation. Fine. Now they are exploring that how AI can be used in governance. So we can also learn from these particular think tanks, and can adopt the usage of AI in governance, can adopt the ethical usage of AI in elections, so that we are better prepared for next elections that are approaching. So this is about this particular entire article. I hope guys that you have understood it. And now moving on to the next article. Okay. China's gray zone warfare tactics against Taiwan. Now, this particular article was taken from Hindu newspaper, and will take it with respect to the GS paper number 2, International Affairs. GS paper number 2, International Affairs. Now, first of all, before going in this particular article, let's understand some basic background information, and then we'll go in the details. Now, see this particular thing, that when we talk about the China, so China follows one China principle. And as per this one China principle, China maintains that Taiwan is not an independent country. China says that the Taiwan is not an independent country. Taiwan is intrinsic part of the mainland China, People's Republic of China. And also China says that one day China will reintegrate Taiwan with itself. China will reintegrate Taiwan with itself, and for that, even if they need force, they'll use it. For that, even if they'll use the force, they will need it. Fine. They say that even if we need even if they need force, they will use it. They say this particular thing. Okay, one thing. Now, basically, Taiwan, even in Taiwan, there are two factions that we have. One faction is positive for the Chinese association. They want to get reintegrated with China, and other section, they want to maintain they want to maintain an independent path. They want to maintain an independent path. Okay, this is something that is going on there. Now, China uses this gray zone warfare against the Taiwan. Now, what is this gray zone warfare that the China is using against Taiwan? Fine, let's understand this. So basically, when we talk about this gray zone warfare, it includes using psychological, ideological, and economic measures, economic strategies that the China is using against Vietnam rather than direct military confrontation. So direct military confrontation is expensive. So rather than using direct military confrontation, what they are doing? They're psychologically manipulating the people of Taiwan. They're using economic measures. Let's understand this particular thing through the help of certain examples. So basically, guys, what happened recently? China's PLA, Eastern Theater Command, they released a 3D animation, and this 3D animation was depicting a missile attack on Taipei, Taipei and Kaohsiung. Now, this missile attack was depicted, let's say, on Taipei, which is the major center in the Taiwan. By that, what they are doing? They are trying to ignite the fear in the mind of the people of Taiwan, that if you will support the independence of Taiwan, we might launch a missile attack on Taiwan, and this devastation will happen in Taiwan. So what is happening? Fear is being ignited in the minds of the people, so that the people don't support the pro-independence movement in Taiwan. What they are doing? They are using the psychological strategies. They are going for the psychological manipulation of the people. Also, what is happening? PLA, they send their fighter jets, unmanned aerial vehicles, strategic aircrafts near the Taiwan. So often what they are doing in the basically in the air defense zone of the Taiwan, in the airspace of Taiwan, continuously China sends their aircraft, they spends their naval ships around the Taiwan. Why? In order to put again a psychological pressure on Taiwan. Fine. So this is something that's happening. This is something that's happening. Then next is there, what is happening? So basically also Beijing, China, they uses propaganda within the Taiwan and they try to influence public opinion. Now see this particular thing, that suppose, now see guys, see this particular thing, that suppose you are advocating for a particular cause and I convince you that the cause that you are advocating, there is not even a 0.1% chance that that particular cause will be achieved. What will happen? A demotivation will come in your mind. So China, what they do, they continuously use a propaganda, and this propaganda is something like this, that what happened recently, a Chinese drone, they dropped flyers on the Tiananmen Island saying that Taiwan independence is a dead end. Whatever you do, you can never achieve independence. So to break the morale, to break the motivation, propaganda is being used. This is also a part of the Chinese gray zone warfare. So what they are doing? Fine. Also, they are initiating public discussions and they are garnering support for the China. So what they are doing, basically China, they are now talking a lot about the patriotism. And what is patriotism? Patriotism is not saying anything with respect against the Communist Party of China, and patriotism is not talking about the independence from China. This is the patriotism according to the China, and they are promoting this patriotism even on Taiwan. Okay, so this is again one of an example that the China is doing. Then carrot and stick approach. Carrot and stick approach. So carrots for Kuomintang. Now Kuomintang is a political faction which is more inclined towards the China. So Kuomintang, with that the China is engaging and they are giving a lot of supports. But at the same time, Democratic Progressive Party, which is more inclined towards the independence, okay, they are being imposed with economic coercion, okay, suspension of preferential tax rates, fine, on 134 chemical imports. Okay, so basically the trade that is going on between the Taiwan and China, a lot of custom duties, a lot of custom taxes are being imposed on the Taiwan. So economic coercion is being used against the Democratic Progressive Party. The leaders of the Democratic Progressive Party, they are being isolated, they are being sidelined. Okay, all this thing is going on. Now, what can be way forward? What can be suggestions that can be used by the Taiwan so that they can fight with this psychological warfare, so that they can fight with this gray warfare of China? So, number one, Taiwan should enhance its own defense system. Taiwan should enhance its own defense system so that they counter the continuous PLAs. Now see, continuous aircrafts, continuous UAVs that are entering in the air defense zone of Taiwan. So to counter them, they should invest in their defense capabilities. Now guys, when we talk about the Taiwan has invested a lot in their air defense so that they are prepared if China is ever getting a marine attack on Taiwan. So they need to secure the Taiwan Strait that is there between the China and Taiwan. Second that is needed to be done is that, fine, Taiwan needs to invest on the robust information campaign within the Taiwan so that they can counter the Chinese propaganda. So already we have discussed this particular thing, that the China, they're investing a lot on propaganda where they are manipulating the people of Taiwan that the independence is dead end. They are trying to promote the Chinese ideals on the people of Taiwan. So understand this particular thing, that antidote of misinformation or wrong information or manipulation is more information. So Taiwan should also invest in their own information broadcasting mechanism. The next is the economic resilience. So what is to be done? Taiwan need to diversify the trade and economic dependencies. So today Taiwan is a lot dependent on China with respect to its trade. Taiwan need to search the other partners. Now understand this thing. Right now when we talk about the US, US is already moving towards the decoupling and de-risking strategy. And as a part of this decoupling and de-risking, US wants to reduce its dependence on the China. Also, when we talk about guys the USA wants to politically and economically contain China. So basically US is more than willing to support Taiwan in this particular direction. So Western allies can be the ones which the Taiwan can explore. However, it might be dangerous for the Taiwan also. So Taiwan, with the calculated risk taking approach, should assess that what can be the more allies towards whom Taiwan can look forward. Fine. Then next is encourage dialogue between Taiwan's political parties. Now, I told you that some of the political sections in the Taiwan, they have a more pro approach towards the China. They are more inclined towards the China. Some parties, they are promoting independence. So, these differentiated approach, this kind of a this kind of a bifurcation is not appreciable. So, a unison needs to be there. A unified front should be kept forward. Also, to strengthen internal laws, fine, such as the anti-infiltration law. Fine. So basically, what is to be done? Fine. So the people. So basically, on internal security also, the Taiwan needs to work so that such kind of a campaign, such kind of a propagandas of China might be countered. So this is something that should be taken, that should be worked by the Taiwan. So I hope that you have understood about this particular article. And now moving to next article. One more chance. Now this particular article is again from the Hindu newspaper. And what this particular article talks about? So this particular article is actually talking about recently what happened. First of all, before going in this article will be important for GS paper number 2 IR, GS paper number 2 IR, International Affairs. Now guys, you see this particular thing that since October 2023, there is a war that is going on between the Hamas and Israel. Now in this particular war, what has happened? Israel, they have carried a lot of attacks on Gaza Strip. But up till now, Hamas has not been eliminated. And in fact, these are the children, women in the Gaza Strip region that are bearing all the burnt. These are the children who are facing all the burnt. Fine. Around more than 37,000 people have died in Gaza Strip, and majority of them were the women and children. So point that comes here, is that we need to find out a peace plan between Israel and Hamas so that the people of Gaza don't suffer. Now, when we talk about US, for a very long period of time, USA's strategy was simple and straightforward. That is, they had a unbroken support to Israel. But now we find this particular thing that the USA, it is little bit changing its foreign policy. US is little bit changing its foreign policy, and now USA is asking Israel that they have to consider for a peace plan. And recently what happened, US President Joe Biden presented a three-phase ceasefire plan for Gaza region. And even US for this three-phase ceasefire plan has got a support from United Nations Security Council. Now, what is this three-phase ceasefire plan between the Hamas and Israel? So this particular plan includes number one, phase 1, 6-week ceasefire. 6-week ceasefire by both sides, that is the Hamas as well as Israel. Meanwhile, what will happen? Israeli troops will withdraw from the populated areas in the Gaza Strip. So ceasefire, neither the Hamas will attack nor the Israel will attack, and the troops will go back. Israeli troops will go back from the populated areas of the Gaza. And what will happen then? There will be the increased aid to Gaza. Medical aid, humanitarian aid, food aid, more aid will be given to the Gaza. Meanwhile, there will be the prisoner exchange that will happen. Prisoner exchange will happen from both the sides. This is phase 1. After this phase 1, then the phase 2. What is phase 2? Remaining hostage is released by Hamas. Now you see this particular thing. Hamas, they have taken the Israeli hostages. Fine, Hamas have taken Israeli hostages. So what will happen? The hostages of Israel will be released by Hamas, and Israel in return will withdraw from Gaza Strip. Now phase 1 was this, that they will withdraw from the populated area. Phase 1 was to withdraw from populated area. Phase 2 is withdraw from the entire Gaza Strip. Then phase 3, reconstruction of Gaza. Phase 3 involves the reconstruction of Gaza. So this is the three-phase plan that has been advocated by Joe Biden. Okay. Now, when we talk about the UNSC, United Nations Security Council, is calling for both Israel as well as Hamas that they should accept this particular ceasefire plan. And also the US supports the resolution, fine, emphasizing that Israel has agreed to the plan. Fine. So point is that even the US says that okay, even Israel has accepted this particular plan. Now, only thing that is becoming an obstacle is the Hamas. Only thing that is becoming an obstacle is Hamas. Now you see this particular thing. First of all, we need to consider that why Israel is now adopting a soft approach. First of all, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a political pressure. For example, Benny Gantz, who played an important role in unity government of Israel, he has withdrawn. Then also what is happening? Fine, he has withdrawn. Far-right coalitions, far-right coalition partners, their position is different. Their position is that they don't want any compromise with the Hamas. So Israel is actually confused. Israel is actually confused. Okay. Now, when we talk about the Hamas, so basically Hamas has certain demands. And Hamas says that until and unless these demands are fulfilled, they'll not withdraw. They'll not agree to those 3-point peace plan. Now, what is the Hamas's demands? Demand number one, immediate Israeli withdrawal from Rafah crossings with Egypt. So Rafah crossing is a crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. Now this particular crossing, fine, it has been blocked. So immediate withdrawal from the Rafah crossing, freedom to choose Palestinian prisoners to be released. So if you remember, there was the prisoner exchange plan. So they want that we'll choose that which prisoner are to be released first. And guarantees from China, Russia, Turkey for a final set agreement with the Israel. That Israel will not walk in mid-between. Israel will not walk mid-between. So they want a guarantee from China, Russia, Turkey, who are more supportive of Hamas Palestinian cause. So they want a guarantee from them. Okay, this is something that has happened. Okay, this is something that has happened. And we see this since the war began in 2023. I told you already 37,000 plus people, they have died. And it is very much important. It is very much important that immediately this particular plan should be made, should be implemented. Now, what is way forward in this particular approach? What should be the suggestions that can be given? Number one is negotiation and compromise. So understand this thing that as I have told you that more than 30,000 people have died. So immediately both Israel and Hamas, they need to prioritize negotiations so that the humanitarian crisis that is going on should be averted. Also, mutual interest, mutual interest should be recognized, and prolonged conflict is to be avoided because it is not helping both of the sides. So some mindset changes are needed. Some mindset changes are needed. Number one mindset change is they both need to recognize, the respective goals. They both need to recognize that the war needs to be ended. Okay, devastating impact of war should be recognized by both of them. Okay, fine, international guarantees should be considered. China, Russia, Turkey should come forward and should give international guarantee because Hamas is one which is insisting on them. Then Netanyahu, fine, should balance political pressures within. Okay, for example, now here which type of political pressure they are talking about? The right-wing coalition partners. Right-wing coalition partners, what they are doing? These right-wing coalition partners, they are pressurizing that no compromise should be there with the Hamas. They are actually becoming an obstacle. So these kind of pressures that are being imposed, they should be managed. They should be managed. Then immediate steps should be taken to protect the civilian lives and to provide the humanitarian aid to Gaza. So Israel should not restrict these particular aids that are going towards the Gaza. This is, guys, all about it. Now, moving on in this particular direction to the next article. A far right swing in European Parliament. A far right swing in European Parliament. Now, this particular article is taken from the Hindu newspaper, and this article will take with respect to the GS paper number 2, polity and related issues. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the world politics, we find this particular thing that the far right political parties, just a minute. Okay, so we find this particular thing that far right political parties. Now, when we talk about the far right political parties, now far right political parties often they have certain traits. Number one, they are ultra nationalist. They are ultra nationalist. They often happen to be radically conservative. They often happen to be radically conservative. They support the status quo. They support the status quo. Okay, so such kind of a political parties, they have become more prevalent in the political landscape, fine, even in Asia and even around the world. So recently, guys, we found this particular thing, that elections too. So far right parties, they have gained significant victory in recent European Parliament elections. Now understand this thing, though center right bloc have retained its majority status, but far right political parties which are ultra nationalist, which support the status quo, which are radically conservative, these particular parties, they have got a huge vote share. They have got a huge vote share. For example, in France, Marie Le Pen's Reassemblement National Party, they won 31.5% of vote and got 30 seats out of the 81 seats. Okay. Then in Germany, far right alternative for Deutschland, they secured 16% of the vote. Okay. So likewise, guys, here are multiple examples from France, Germany, then Italy. So Brothers of Italy party, they have also captured a huge vote. All these are the far right political parties. All these are the far right political parties, and what is happening? They are getting huge majorities. They are getting huge support from the people. Okay, and they are getting more and more number. Their popularity is actually increasing. Now, when we talk about, guys, these far right parties, it has been said that often what happen, they first of all, these particular parties, because they are not accommodative, often these parties tend to be unaccommodative. So because of this, often there is a concern when these parties become they gain more popularity. Now see this thing, that what are the factors for the far right political parties becoming more relevant and becoming more popular in Europe? Number one, post COVID-19 economic challenges. So post COVID-19, there is an economic slump that has come. And during that economic slumps, what happened? People, they have become delusioned from the existing political parties. So center right political parties, leftist political parties, whatever they were there in the Europe, which were active during the time of COVID or post COVID, they have not been able to contain the economic crisis. So therefore, what happened? A kind of an anti-incumbency, a kind of a negative attitude towards those parties have developed. Okay. Then farmers protests are going on. Okay, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is going on, which has led to a cost of living crisis. Now see this thing, the existing political parties, they have failed to contain this Russia Ukraine war. They have failed to contain the economic crisis that came. Today farmers, they are facing the agrarian crisis in Europe. So because of that, what has happened? There is a kind of an aversion from ruling establishment. Also, there is Euroscepticism, populism, anti-immigration sentiments that have come. So immigrants that have come from the other countries, okay, they are just being seen as a nuisance by the people today. And as I told you that the far right political parties, they tend to be ultra nationalist. Okay, and majority of these parties, they have said that we are going to solve this problem of immigrants that are coming. So far right political parties, okay, they are more populist. Populist means basically those parties which design policies to appease people. So far right political parties tend to be more populist. Okay. So today, guys, what is happening? The entire unified entity of the Euro identity that we have, even that particular identity is being questioned. Okay. So point is that far right political parties, they say that we have we have solution towards this immigration issue. We have solution towards this COVID-19 economic crisis. We have solution towards basically the cost of living that has increased. So today the far right political parties are offering these particular solutions, and therefore they have become more popular. Okay. Shift in voter priorities in Germany towards peace, social security, immigration, the same issues that are there. Now, also, guys, European Union, it is coming out towards the climate policy. Now, see, when we talk about European Union has a goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. And it is coming out with many policies. Now, these particular policies are being seen as anti-developmental. How anti-development? Now, you see this particular thing, that today Europe has planned to make agriculture carbon neutral. Now understand these particular thing, these interventions will be costly in short to medium term. And as these intervention will be costly in short to medium terms, resources will be diverted. And at the end of the day, what will happen? The people who are poor, they will face losses. Fine. So because of these particular things, the far right political parties in Europe, they have become more relevant in the present times. So I hope that you have understood it. And now moving on to the next article. The invisible worker. Now this particular article will see will take with respect to GS paper number 2, diaspora and related issues. GS paper number 2, diaspora and related issues. Now, you all might have followed this particular development. What happened? So recently, there was a fire incident that broke out in Kuwait. And in this particular fire incident, what happened? 49 people died, which included more than 40 Indians. And out of that, majority of them were from Kerala. Now, you see this particular thing that 49 people died in this particular building fire. And when further reports came, it was found that the people were living here in deplorable conditions. People here were living in very poor conditions. Deplorable conditions. And guys, again and again, what has happened when we talk about the blue collar workers of India that are migrating to the Gulf countries, particularly, they work there, but their living conditions are very poor. Even the migrant workers in the countries such as Qatar, Dubai, fine, they also are facing very poor conditions. Now, when we talk about this particular fire incident in Kuwait, it is a part of a broader pattern of unsafe living conditions. Deplorable conditions that are there. Okay. Also, in the aftermath of Qatar World Cup, Dubai Expo, these particular issues were highlighted. That on one hand, these countries boast world-class infrastructure. On one hand, they are now trying to compete with the Western countries, but on another hand, living conditions are very poor. Human rights violations still happen here. Now, you see this particular thing, guys, that first of all, when we talk about workers in these Gulf countries, they live in cramped, unsafe environments. Fine, ventilation is not there. Often because of that, they become too susceptible to the communicable diseases. In the aftermath of COVID-19, these unsanitary living conditions, they came in the news. Also, another thing is that there is also the lack of data and visibility. There are no proper data that what is the condition of these people that are living. Okay, so migrant workers data on their health, data on their safety, fine, it is most of the time missing. Fine. Now, when we talk about these particular workers, according to Kerala Migration Survey, 2.2 million people have migrated from Kerala only. 2.2 million people have migrated from Kerala, and majority of these people, 80% of these people are receiving in the GCC. Fine, in the GCC countries, in the Gulf countries, these 80% people are living, and majority of them are blue collar workers. They are working in unorganized sector, hazardous condition. Now, when we talk about these particular workers, they involve in a particular type of a occupation, that is the low skill jobs, and in these low skill jobs, they have low bargaining power. They face exploitative labor conditions, limited to no rights, and even the majority of the countries in GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, majority of the countries, they don't even recognize the permanent residency. Permanent residency is not an option for these particular workers, but still they are working there. Okay. Now, when we talk about these migrants, now for India, these migrants have an economic value. How these migrants have an economic value? What happens? They are sending valuable remittances to India. They are sending valuable remittances to India. And in fact, because of the remittances that they send, India happens to be one of the largest recipient of remittances that are coming. Now, this needs to be changed. Number one, today when we talk about India, India needs to leverage its position as a major migrant sending country to negotiate the favorable terms of living for these particular migrant people. Now, India today is a major sender of migrants. That is true, and therefore these countries, GCC countries, have a lot of dependency on India. So, what India needs to do? India needs to strengthen the existing memorandum of understanding. India needs to sign the bilateral and multilateral agreements with these countries that they will secure the basic living, they'll secure the human rights. All such kind of a things needs to be done. Also, at the national level, we need to work on migration database. Okay, we need to have a comprehensive data with respect to the migration, with respect to the migrant population. For example, country where they are migrating, what is the working condition in those countries, whether they are getting proper accommodation or not, whether they are getting proper healthcare or not, whether they are getting the basic hygiene there or not. So national level database are also to be prepared. Then the next is there should be regular updates, comprehensive data collection. The next is there should be the focus on migrant well-being, rather than, I told you, rather than seeing them as the ones who send the economic remittances, they should be seen as individual having their own rights, their own needs. Okay, this is something that is to be done. Also, what can be done? International collaboration. International collaborations will be done with the NGOs, with the organization that are working for the human rights preservation, and through these particular kind of an initiatives, the basic rights and dignities of the workers working in the GCC countries should be respected. Now, moving on to the next article, heat waves as a disaster. Heat waves as disaster. Now, this particular article was published in Indian Express newspaper. Now, what this particular article is talking about? This particular article is talking about the heat wave incidents. Now, recently, you might have already seen in the newspaper that so many deaths have happened because of the heat waves. Now, as with the passing year, heat waves are becoming more severe. Fine, it is emerging out as a natural disaster. Now, first of all, where this particular article will be important, this particular article will be important with respect to GS paper number 3, disaster management. Fine. This article will be important with respect to the GS paper number 3, disaster management. Now, when we talk about the heat waves right now, so heat waves are not included as a notified disaster under the Disaster Management Act. Now, why it is not recognized as a notified disaster? What is a notified disaster? What benefits will be there if some disaster is recognized as a notified disaster? So all these particular things we are going to see here. Okay, now, see this thing. So Disaster Management Act is the principal act that deals with the disasters and the remedies to reduce disasters, rehabilitation in the face of disasters. So we have the Disaster Management Act, and this Disaster Management Act was enacted post 1999 super cyclone that came in Odisha and 2004 tsunami that came. Now, under the Disaster Management Act, states, they are allowed to withdraw the money from National Disaster Response Fund and State Disaster Response Fund if there is a notified disaster that came. Okay, so see this thing. In the case of a notified disaster, states can withdraw money from NDRF and SDRF, that is the National Disaster Response Fund and State Disaster Response Fund. Now, these two funds are created under the Disaster Management Act. Now, when we talk about the NDRF, entire money in the NDRF, it comes from the central government. When we talk about the SDRF, 25% money in the SDRF fund, it is contributed by the states, and remaining money, that is 75%, it is contributed by the center. However, if it is a special category state, by the way, already special category issue we have discussed. So if it is a special category state, in the example, in a special category state, what will happen? Those states will contribute 10%, then 90% will be contributed by the center. So anyhow, majority of money that is flowing in these particular funds, it is from the center in the case of NDRF as well as SDRF. Now the states, they can withdraw money. They can withdraw money from the NDRF and SDRF if there is a notified disaster that has happened. Now first they have to use money from SDRF. If the disaster is so huge that money from SDRF will not suffice, then they can also use money from the NDRF. Now, when we talk about the NDRF in financial year 23-24, only two states, that is the Sikkim and Himachal Pradesh, they withdrew money from NDRF. That is the National Disaster Response Fund. Now, under Disaster Management Act, there are the notified disasters. And if there are notified disasters, only in the case of those disasters, money can be withdrawn. Now, when we talk about the notified disasters, so what are the notified disasters? 12 disasters are notified disasters. That is cyclone, drought, earthquake, fire, flood, tsunami, hailstorm, landslides, avalanche, cloudburst, pest attack, frost and cold wave. These are the notified disease. Heat waves have not been included as a notified disease. Why? Because their occurrence and their severity has actually become a concern in last 15 years only. And that is why, because the global warming that is coming. Okay. Today heat waves are exposing more and more people to heat related risk. It is having an impact on economic activities today. Today you see that delivery workers, gig workers, they cannot go out and work because of these severe heat waves. So it is leading to economic vulnerability of these particular people. Today 23 states in India are vulnerable for heat waves. They are preparing the heat action plan. These states want money because of the vulnerability of heat wave that they are having, and but because the heat waves are not notified as a notified disaster in the DM Act, they cannot get access to money under the NDRF and SDRF. Okay, so states, they say that they need money for developing shaded spaces, for making cold water availability, for rescheduling, for implementing the modified working hours. But we cannot do that. Why we cannot do that? Because we don't have money, and for money we need NDRF and SDRF assistance, and for NDRF and SDRF a disaster needs to be a notified disaster. Okay, so this is something that's there. Now so basically Finance Commission over the years has been reluctant, but since 15th Finance Commission, what has happened? Finance Commission has provided that the states that they can use up to 10% of the SDRF funding for the heat waves. But heat waves again have been recognized just as a local disaster. Fine. And the states such as the Haryana, UP, Odisha, Kerala, they have added heat waves as a local disaster using this provision. And but as it is declared as a local disaster, only 10% of the funding can be used. Now they want that this cap should be removed. Recognized heat waves as a full-fledged disaster, not just as a local disaster. This is something that is fine. So I hope that you have understood it. Okay. Now also there are some practical difficulties that are there. Now see this thing. When we talk about the notified disaster, when a notified disaster is there, so the people who are died because of that particular notified disaster, so 4 lakh rupees compensation is given. Now point is that so many people are dying, 500 people have died because of heat related deaths this year only. Is it possible to give this high compensation? Is it possible to give this particular compensation to those so many people? Also, often, basically you see that how to attribute a death, that whether it was because of the heat related incidents or some other incident. Suppose a person got a cardiac arrest. Let's say a person got dehydrated because of heat stroke and then he died. Now, how you will classify that this particular death is because of the heat, or that death was because of some other underlying condition? So that brings some kind of a practical difficulties attributing death to specifically to the heat incidents. So therefore, we need to follow a multi-pronged approach. Now, what is this multi-pronged approach? Step number one, gradually we need to integrate heat waves into the notified disaster list, as we have done, as 15th Finance Commission provided that 10% of funding can be given. So gradually it need to be integrated as a full-fledged notified disaster. Allow states more flexibility in using the disaster fund for heat wave management. Fine, don't put some tab on the states that how they can use this particular money. States should strengthen the heat action plan, and there should be better monitoring, data collection, so we can better understand the heat impact and we can better prepared with this particular how to deal with the heat. Okay, heat waves. Okay. The next thing that comes here is that also healthcare intervention should be done, so that pre-existing condition Okay, now see, there are many pre-existing conditions that can be exacerbated because of the heat wave. Certain people are more vulnerable to heat waves. So for that particular thing, adequate healthcare intervention need to be done. Awareness need to be given to the people. Awareness need to be given to the people. Healthcare are to be better. Healthcare providers are to be better trained to identify and treat heat wave related illnesses. Okay. Then also, what is needed to be done? We need to review the funding under the SDRF and NDRF, and we need to bring some kind. No, see, we need to bring certain kind of mechanisms that the disasters which are not notified, they should also be included, and gradually, fine, from local disaster, heat wave need to be included as a full-fledged disaster. So this is something that is needed in this particular direction. Okay, this is something that is needed in this particular direction. Fine. Okay, so that is all, guys, which is needed in this particular direction. So I hope that you have all understood about this particular issue. So with this, this particular section is done. Fine. I hope you have understood it. Yes, guys. Any doubt, any issue to anyone? Yes, guys, any doubt, any issue? Okay, moving on to the other issues that we have. Okay, is it time for proportional representation? Is it time for proportional representation? Okay, now this is one more article that came, and this particular article again I took from the Hindu newspaper. Now, why this particular article came, and let's say that what this particular issue was all about. So basically, guys, recently Lok Sabha election results came out, and basically, when we talk about the elections in India, we follow first past the post electoral system. First past the post electoral system. Now, when we talk about the first past the post electoral system, what happens? The political party which gets the highest number of votes wins the election, irrespective of the fact that whether the total votes that they got were more than 50% or not. Suppose there are 4 candidates, A, B, C, and D from a constituency. Suppose A got 30% vote, B got 30, let's say A got 30% vote, B got 35% vote. Okay, C got 15% vote, and let's say D got 20% vote. B, who got 35% vote, will win because his vote is the maximum. Though B did not got 50% plus vote, but 35% vote even he got, he will win. Now, if you see, effectively, 2/3 of people have not selected him, but still he will win the entire constituency. We follow this first past the post system. Now, it has been said that this first past the post system, okay, it has certain limitations. It has certain limitations. So, therefore, there are the demands that are coming that this first past the post system, this first past the post system needs to be reevaluated. Now, for example, guys, when we talk about 2024 elections, NDA won 293 seats, but their vote share was just 43.3%. When we talk about India bloc, they won 234 seats, approximately 60 seats less, but their vote share was 41.6%. Now, if we talk about the vote share percentage, there is not so much of difference, but the number of seat difference is approximately 60 seats. Okay, the difference of seats is approximately 60. So, point is that this issue that comes here is that the FPTP is to be revised. And what is the suggestion that is being given is that we need to implement a proportional representation system. We need to bring the proportional representation system. Now, okay. So, proportional representation system. Now, what is proportional representation system? So, under the proportional representation system, the seats are distributed on the basis of the percentage of votes that each party is receiving. Suppose a party received 10% vote. So, if they receive 10% vote, they will get the 10 seats. Okay, suppose there are 100 seats, 10% vote, they'll get 10 seats. 20% vote, they'll get 20 seats. Okay, so point is that in the Lok Sabha or in the legislature, the percentage of vote that they are having, on that particular basis, they will get the seats. For example, when we talk about the Gujarat, MP, Chhattisgarh, NDA won almost all the seats, though their vote share was around 50%. India block's vote share was also 50%, but less than actually that. Now, point is that if there was a proportional representation system, India bloc would have got 23 seats here. Okay, so proportional representation system is something that is needed. Now, guys, there is one practical solution that we have. It is that the mixed member proportional representation system. Now, see, FPTP and proportional representation system are diametrically two which are at extremes. So jumping from one to other might not be possible in the immediate run. So what we can do in between, we can go for this mixed member proportional representation. Now it combines FPTP and PR. Now what happens here? So here we'll take the examples from the countries where it is operating. So it is right now operating in Germany. So when we talk about Germany, Germany follow this MMPR system. Now Germany have 598 seats in their Bundestag. So Bundestag is the Germany's equivalent of Lok Sabha. They have 598 seats. Out of that, half of the seats, that is the 299 seats, they are filled through FPTP system that we have in India, and remaining seats are filled through PR system. Now see this thing. Basically, what happened? People will vote for 299 seats. And on the basis of the FPTP system, these 299 representatives will be chosen. Now, remaining 50% seats, that is the 299 seats that are there, they will be filled up through the PR system. So, political parties, the percentage of vote that they are getting, minimum 5% vote you should get. Only then you will be considered. Minimum 5% vote you should get, then only you will be considered. So, what will happen? Political parties, they will be given the seats on the basis of percentage of vote that they got. In New Zealand also similar system is there. So out of total 120 seats that are there, 60% are filled through FPTP and remaining 40% seats are allocated to the political parties on the basis of percentage of vote that they got. And in the case of India, Law Commission in its 170th report also advised that we should follow this MMPR system, and in the case of India it was said that 25% seats should be filled through the proportional representation, as it is 50% in Germany, 40% in New Zealand. In India, 25% seats should be fulfilled through this mechanism. And now, as we are going for the delimitation that is coming in 2026, so 2026 delimitation is coming. So now we need to enhance the number of seats in Lok Sabha, and certain seats are to be filled through the PR system. This is something that is to be done. So this is, guys, all about it. Now moving on. Social science, a shelter for the excluded students. Now this article also got published in the Hindu newspaper. Now this particular article we are going to read with respect to GS paper number 2, education and related issues. GS2 education related issues. Now, this particular article, it is providing this particular thing that, see, when we talk about the higher education is very much important for higher education. It is very much important for enhancing the quality of human capital as well as for economic growth of a nation. The people who have acquired higher education, they will have higher skill sets, they will have higher vocational awareness, they can contribute in high paying jobs, and by that they can contribute in economic well-being of a nation. In fact, according to OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, it has been said that if a person goes for an additional grade of education, his earning potential increases by 9 to 11%. Okay, so to enhance the quality of human capital for economic growth, higher education is important. Now, when we talk about the higher education, basically there are many exclusions that happen because in the higher education. Number one, there is excessive competition. Now, premier institutions, IIT, IIM, AIMS, they have a lot of competition, and therefore a lot of students are not able to make through in these institutions. Financial factors, because of the high fees, sometimes people are not able to make to the premier institutions, and subject and course availability. Sometimes certain institutions don't have a particular course that people need. So what happen? They lead to exclusions. And often either because you were not able to go to a premier institution, or let's say because fees were very much high, what happened? People end up in humanities courses. And according to AISHE survey, according to All India Survey on Higher Education, AISHE survey, undergraduate enrollment rate has seen a rapid growth. Now you see, undergraduate enrollment growth is 4.1. Okay, so growth in the undergraduate enrollment is 4.1%. In postgraduate, enrollment growth is 5.9%. But specifically in BA program, enrollment has increased by 15%. In MA programs, enrollment has increased by 26.5%. Now, BA and MA are humanities courses. Humanities courses. The point is that now in the humanities courses, preferences are increasing. Now, these preferences, why they are increasing? They are increasing because of the fact that the exclusions that are coming. Now, in the social sciences also, humanities also, more preference is towards the courses which have empirical orientation, real world application. For example, economics. So it has real world application and it has high employability. Overemphasis on policy intervention skills. Okay. Now, understand this thing, that even in the private universities, affluent students, they are exploring the subjects which were earlier not explored. For example, anthropology, sociology. Now, in the higher education, we need to immediately undertake certain interventions. Number one, we need to focus on quality improvement. We need to focus on quality improvement. We need to enhance the teaching quality, and we need to update course contents so that the students in higher educational institution, they learn better empirical skills so that they can understand policy making effectively. We need to increase funding for public institutions so that they will not pose high fees for the students. Curriculum and accessibility needs to be improved so that the students, even from the regional languages, they are better equipped to understand the instructions. Okay. Okay, so this AI article already we have discussed. Okay, the next article we have a reboot at G7. Now, this particular article, it talks about the recent participation of Prime Minister, participation of Prime Minister in the G7 summit in Italy. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the G7, so basically G7, it is the grouping of seven most industrialized, fine and developed nations, that is the US, Canada, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Japan. And basically G7, it has 4 pillars of cooperation, that is economic policy coordination, governance, global governance coordination, crisis response, response in the wake of crisis as the pandemics, geopolitical conflict, financial crisis, promoting democracy and human rights. These are the 4 pillars of G7. And G7 organizes its summit every year, and India is usually invited in the G7, though India is not a formal member of G7. Now, the presidency of G7 rotates in the countries. This year, G7 is being hosted by Italy, and Prime Minister of India has been invited to this G7. Okay. Now, so basically, when we talk about this G7 summit, you see that G7 summit is largely dominated by the Western countries. Now, you see this particular thing, guys, that India is participating here. And here, India is participating here. And you see, on the same time, there is a growing divide between the West and China, Russia. So China, Russia and West, there is a growing divide between these two. India is participating in G7, which is largely a Western dominated grouping. This can be an opportunity for India to revive its ties with the West. But at the same time, India also needs to be mindful that its ties with the Russia, China should not get declined. And for that, what is happening? India needs to go for a balancing act. And India is already doing that balancing act. Prime Minister will then attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Kazakhstan, and there will interact with the China and Russia, because China and Russia are the part of the SCO. So this shows example that how India is participating in G7 and SCO at the same time, and it is an example of India's balancing act. Also, as India is a regular invitee under the G7, Fine. India is a major stakeholder in the global negotiations that are going on. Fine. Right now there is a Ukraine war that is going on, and in this particular incident also, India can play a meaningful role. Fine. Also, as this year G7 is being hosted by Italy, and Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, and Prime Minister Mr. Modi, they also have warm personal relations. So basically, what can be done? So this particular year, as G7 is being hosted by Italy, and as India and Italy has warm relations, so basically it can be used to transform the ties. Fine. And now certain things also are there which are needed to which we need to keep in mind. There are certain things that we need to keep in mind. Number one, reaffirming democracy. Reaffirming democracy. Fine. Now you see this thing that when we talk about Prime Minister Mr. Modi, he won the election and it is his third tenure. It is his third tenure. And basically, the third tenure of Prime Minister and his victory. Now you see that when the elections were going on, there were multiple issues that were that were operating simultaneously. On one hand, there were the criticism of EVM going on. On another hand, there was this particular issue that was going on, that the opposition is being getting silenced, etc. All these things came to the rest moment the elections came. Prime Minister won the election, but with a reduced mandate. So we have proved that the democracy is thriving and is well functioning in India. Democracy is thriving and well functioning in India. Now Prime Minister is going to the G7. Now point is that India's democratic resilience have been proved, and now India participating here at this particular institution has its special symbolic significance. Also, India should continue on security cooperation, food, energy security, etc. Fine. Now here, as India is participating, the most important thing is that, so India, now there is a Rome call for AI ethics that is there. Rome call for AI ethics that has been given by the Pope Francis, which talks about the ethical usage of AI. Now as India is participating, India can also become the part of this Rome call for AI ethics. Fine. Now moving on to the next article. Okay, this gray zone warfare also that we have already discussed. Okay, gray zone warfare also already we have discussed. So these particular article, guys, already we have discussed. And now moving on, invisible worker article also we have discussed, heat wave article also we have discussed. Okay, so there is this one more article that we have, is why India needs a third aircraft carrier. Why India needs a third aircraft carrier. Okay, so now this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, security related issues. Now India is working to India is working to build a third aircraft carrier. Now this particular aircraft carrier will be called as the Indigenous Aircraft Carrier 2, IAC2. And this particular aircraft carrier is being constructed by Cochin Shipyard Limited. Cochin Shipyard Limited. And this particular aircraft carrier will enhance India's maritime capabilities. Now, Indigenous Aircraft Carrier 2, IAC, it will complement Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant. Fine. Now, when we talk about India, India has a coastline of more than 7,500 kilometers. And in order to protect this 7,500 kilometer plus coastline that we have, we need to have the aircraft carriers. And therefore, this particular aircraft carrier will help India. Now, understand this particular thing, that this particular article is providing that there are certain lessons that India should be mindful about. Number one, you see this particular thing, that 1995 to 2005 is actually called as a lost decade. Why? Now, Musgaon Dock Shipbuilders, which played a very important role in building the submarines of India, it acquired a lot of expertise in submarine building throughout the 1990s, and actually it invested also a lot in the submarine building throughout the 1990s. It invested a lot in submarine building throughout 1990s. But post 1995, its expertise was not used. Its systems got disintegrated, and that expertise we did not use that much. And over the period, it got lost. Now, Cochin Shipyard is being used to construct the indigenous aircraft carrier. So point is that we need to take lessons from the Mazgaon dock shipbuilders, that what happened here should not happen in the case of the Cochin shipyard also. Then there is issue that is coming, that this particular aircraft carrier, it will be coming at a cost of $5 to $6 billion, which is huge. So there is a debate that is going on internally in the defense forces, that should we be spending this much money on aircraft carrier or something else. Now you see this particular thing. Now we see that this particular thing, that see over the years what has happened. Advanced anti-access or air denial capabilities of China and Pakistan have increased. What actually is happening? China and Pakistan are not giving access to their EEZ, to the patrolling ships, etc. They are using missiles to deter the other countries from venturing in their waters. They've invested in the missiles. So if you have the robust missile system, no one will enter your waters. Now, what the aircraft carriers are doing, aircraft carriers also are patrolling the water and they are deterring the enemies from the nearby waters. Now, China, Pakistan, they have invested in missiles, and by investing in missiles, they are going for the area denial. Now, point is that should we also go for area denial by using the submarines, by using the carriers such as aircraft carrier, or by investing in missiles? Where we should spend our resource, this is something that is going on. Even there are the Indian Air Force that it argues, Indian Air Force, it argues that we should rather invest in fighter jets with maritime strike capabilities. So point is that internally there is a lot of division. One point of view is that we should invest in aircraft carriers. One view is that we should invest in the upgraded aircrafts that have the maritime capabilities. Third, we should invest in submarines. Fourth, we should invest in the missiles. So what we need to do, that is something that is to be focused upon. And one more view comes. Some experts advocate that we need to upgrade Andaman and Nicobar Island military capabilities. Okay, so way forward is simply that balanced approach needs to be taken. We need to focus on all simultaneously, because all of them have their pros and cons. Financial management and strategic planning is needed to be taken in account, because $5 to $6 billion, which is the cost, we need to see that what can be the best usage of that particular money. All that has come in this particular direction. Now guys, moving on in this particular direction, and here we have a book reference that we are going to take, and the book is Breaking the Mold. Now this Breaking the Mold, it is a book from Mr. Raghuram Rajan and Rohit Lama. Both are the economists. Mr. Raghuram Rajan has worked also as the chief of RBI. Now this particular book is critiquing the India's developmental model. Now when we talk about India, in the past we have mentioned that India should invest in manufacturing. Now often it comes that India should invest in manufacturing and blue collar manufacturing. It is also often called as that it is something which will drive India's growth. Okay. Now the article is saying that you see this thing, that we cannot duplicate China's development model. We cannot today duplicate China's development model. Now, when we talk about China specifically focused on manufacturing, and by that China achieved the double-digit growth. And we say that we should also do the same that what China did. Focus on hardcore manufacturing, and that too, the manufacturing which includes a lot of blue-collar workers, manual workers. We should invest on that. Okay. When we talk about India, has developed a different model. So today India has developed a kind of a comparative advantage in services sectors also. Direct services such as education, telemedicine, financial service, consulting, IT, we have developed an expertise in that. Now, this particular book gives a very, very good kind of a suggestion that why to go for manufacturing, why you don't go for high-end manufacturing which has embedded services in it. Now, what does it mean? Now, for example, making a car 100 years back or 200 years back. Now, 200 years back, car were not that much sophisticated. They were largely manual machines. So, making a car 200 years back was pure manufacturing. Today, if we talk about the car, for example, if we take the example of Tesla car. So, Tesla car has a 40 to 50 million lines of code written in it. Today, cars have ADAS and such kind of features that they have also the software integration in it. So today there is no hard differentiation between manufacturing and service. Today within the manufacturing, now see, everything is becoming smart. Even today your refrigerator is smart, your AC is smart. So today even in the manufacturing there is a service component, there is some coding, there is some IT component that goes. So India need to specialize in this kind of a manufacturing which has services integrated within it. So this is something that has been given. Okay, so guys, I hope that you have understood it. So this is all guys about this particular session. Fine, thank you so much.